We can launch water, right? You guys know Paul Shapiro? Any of you guys know who Paul Shapiro is? Big water class. This guy, he hasn't been doing this a long time. He used to teach this class called Big Water. He came to Everett and said, I teach big water, but if you want to teach, if you want to learn really big water, you got to go to Everett Fire. Because those guys flow big water, right? And we just made a world-class stop down here. You guys see that in the papers? Everett Engineering? That's a multi-million-dollar sale. Something to be proud of. We just saw a non-world class stop. 20 buildings lost. Down south. Right? Be proud of this fire department. We do big stuff here, right? With real limited people. Right? It's real impressive. Okay, sorry. My political pitches are getting deep, aren't they? All right. Off-gassing. All right. So, when the floor is done off-gassing, when the floor is off-gassing, is done absorbing energy, what you're seeing is the beginning stages of that floor saying, I cannot accept any more energy. And when construction cannot accept any more energy, what does it do? It reflects it where? Back to the fuel, right? So what's the fuel in this box? Smoke. Right? Even though the fire is burning, which would be a correct answer also, right? The one that's dangerous for us is all this smoke. Because it's got us surrounded. It's got us on multiple flanks. We can handle 1, 2, maybe 3 flanks with a hose line. It's tough to do. If we're stationary, we can do it. But after that, you're surrounded. Right? And this fire is just doing what it wants to do. It doesn't go, oh, you're a stupid fireman, I'm coming to burn you. It's just like, oh, I'm getting air. I'm going to become my full potential. All right? That's all it's doing. All right? Okay, so what we know about this then, as that's doing that, there's some temperature changes going on in the room, wouldn't you say? All right. So one temperature change that we look for is 500 degrees mid-wall. What we know about 500 degrees mid-wall, with the zero visibility box, with the plume on the opposite place where we're measuring from this, so the opposite wall, what we know about that is when we're 500 degrees mid-wall in an 8-foot box, a residential box, it's not a commercial box, right? We're talking about residential firefighting, right? In an 8-foot box, what we know, right, scientifically, is that when we're at zero visibility, growth stage plume, what do you think of growth stage? What's a decay site fire sound like to you? Just guess. It's dying. It's weeping. It's going, right? Decay site fire, right? All right. What's a growth site fire sound like to you? Wow, crack, popping, I'm coming. Right? I'm over here and I'm coming and I don't care. And I'm making a bunch of noise. That's a growth stage fire. Right? Decay site fire is quiet. It's hot and quiet. Growth stage fire. Rolling, nasty, becoming hotter. Heat rate going up. Noisy. What does it look like? What does 500 degrees mean to us? When we can find this at mid-wall, and what we do is we use our hand or our wrist, right? And we're looking for 400 degrees. What we know about 400 degrees in dry heat, right? When we put our skin up into 400 degrees, don't just jam it in, right? You know, you're coming from a cool area, a safe area with your hand, right? And you're coming up and you're looking for this temperature change. When your hand will not stay in 400, it's an involuntary motion. Your arm will come flying out of that thing. We go like this. Oof. Right? So everybody try that. Show me the 400. Show me the 400. Okay, good, all right? That's what it looks like. When the captain does this, okay, rap, you can't hear you, you're in your mouth. You chuckle at it, right? That last fucking email. Anyway, you can do that, right? But you're looking for that. The reason we're looking for that is we're looking for 500, right? Now this is a relative term. You could call 400 blue. We're looking for blue, all right? Don't get hung up in this number because what we're trying to create here is that you are reading the rate of change in the box. You're reading, the box is getting hotter. And when I get to where I can't put my bare skin in a mid-wall, not touching the wall, but mid-wall, The box is moving to flashover, and I can't survive that. I need to back the company up. You got to back up and get to a little safer spot, and then get ready for this thing to light off, and then take it on. Because we need room to apply the water. If I apply the water right here in the situation, which you do if it lights up, right? I mean, that's your last chance. You're going to trade thermal burns for steam burns. Okay? That's what you're trading off. That's why you see the guys' ears, proud of themselves. They got their goddamn helmet shield melted like they're some kind of hero. Melted helmet shield is a sign of stupidity. Right? It means you lost control of the heat in the box. A professional can read this heat change. That's who you are. That's who every firemen are. We're professionals. And we look at this thing, and we're looking at that box going, I know when I need to back up, and you back up, and then you deal with it. That's why we don't get pushed out of fires here. Because you know what usually pushes you out of these fires? It's not that it's too big. There's no conversion space. And that wet, hot temperature stinks. That's a dry heat. You know when people say that? It's a dry heat. Okay, same thing. It's a wet heat. Oh, it's a dry heat. It's a dry heat. It's right. It's a dry heat. Okay? Same thing going on here. All right. So here's what we want to do then. What does all this science, all these numbers, what does all this mean to you? It's a picture in your mind. It's a picture in your mind of the fire is in its natural progression. It started off somewhere with a BT or maybe a wood match or something, a cigarette. All right? It got to 451 degrees and it ignited and it got big enough to sustain the stuff that's probably in the corner of the couch or stuffed in somewhere. Was where it got. Does that matter to you? No, only if you're like in there looking for it. I can't find it. All right? Thing burns, starts to grow, and as the temperature increases in the room, Uncle Charlie shows up. Charles' law shows up, right? Charles' law shows up, and that's the increase of gas, right? The rate of that development is controlled by the air intake. That's Thornton's rule. Right? Thornton's rule determines the rate of development for fire. It'll only develop no matter what's burning, except the fuel that has an oxidizer in it. And the fuels that we deal with, fireground aren't oxidizers in structural firefighting, right? If it has an oxidizer, this changes a little bit. But that burning, no matter what, it could be gasoline or it could be a upholstery chair will burn at the same rate if the same air is allowed to it. If it's a ventilation controlled fire, that's be ventilation control. Once a ventilation controlled, Thornton's rule comes into effect. It controls BTU development. It can only get so hot. Okay? Anyway, Thornton's rule is playing. That's what's making it grow. Charles' law is showing. That's what's making the smoke come out and start to accelerate for you, right? You know you have 1,000 degrees of acidity. Why that's important? Because the flammable range of this is 12.5 to 74%, and the ignition temperature is around 1,000 degrees to 1,203, so we took 1,174, right? Is it hot enough up here to ignite this? Yes. You have ignition temperature. It's just not in the right range. And that range is broad. So it's easy for it to light off. The smoke is tumbling and rolling, right? It gets ready to light off because the roof is done absorbing energy. It's pushing energy down. That fire is burning it, then you might not be able to see it. It's up underneath the dirty smoke, right? That energy is coming to the floor, so you go, wow, is that hot? Man, you're looking at it, right? You say, look at the floor, oh shit, ooh, there's off-gassing. Off-gassing, right? Back up. Back up so you can apply water. You need space, you're in too deep. Just back it up. Just give yourself a little space, it's okay. You're not a loser. You're a winner because you recognized it. The guy's loser is the guy that's in the burn unit. Right? Okay, so there you are. You see the off-gas, right? You hear the growth stage fire. What's it sound like? Right? You're reaching for temperature. Is there fire in the ceiling? Right? Growth stage fire. Right? What do? You leave. Okay? Okay, so what is flashover sound like in your mind? Right? You got it? Let me hear you say it. Okay, what was that? Was that fire in the ceiling? Probably. That was probably fire. Was that fire in the ceiling for you? Yeah. Okay, what is growth stage fire? Because we love growth stage fires. Ooh, this is mine. Growth stage fire. Ooh, I got it. And I see off-gas on the floor. It's heat. I'm out of the box. Okay? Now there's a bunch of controversy on this thing. Don't let it shake you up. Because here's the golden stuff, right? For us to survive inside the fire environment, we have to be able to read the changing rate of heat so that we know when to leave. Off-gassing is a very late sign. You're way behind the curve here. That's why you need to move out. You need to move back it up, isolate the fire, shut the door, let it do what it's going to do, and then go back after it. There's nothing live here anyway if it's off-gassing the floor. It's okay. It's a late sign. And the early sign is growth stage fire. Smoke rolling, filling the box, the temperature of that smoke. Right? You could be in zero visibility firefight if the smoke's not too hot to put your hand in, right? That makes sense? Does it? Can I be in zero visibility if the smoke's not hot? Yeah, because it's not going to light. That's how you answer that question. If it's cold enough not to light, I can be in it. Why am I in it? I'm not going in there for life. I'm going in there to do what? Save what? Some property, the exposure property, something. You're going to see this in sprinkler buildings, a lot of things like that. Smoke fire. Okay? So it's not. So it's not just a visual sightline, right? It's what we hear, what we feel, right, and what we see. And every piece of science in your journey for the rest of your career, you want that. Yes.
Are there patterns where the CO range is going to be higher, or traditionally higher than 74, or is it traditionally lower than 12.5? Or is it?
Yes, it will be that way.
Either one.
Yes. You're correct. Okay. Remember, this is a moment in time. So in your mind, where would you think it would be? What would it look like when it was too rich to burn? In your mind. Now, remember, I'm looking at this from your mind.
Closed box, not enough air.
Okay, maybe closed box, not enough air. And what does an environment look like?
Really dark. Really
If you were to open the door and you're looking in there, what would it look like?
Really dark. Smoky.
Dark, smoky,
Yeah,
right?
can't see anything.
And when you're opening that door, it's dark and smoky, what are you looking for?
Feel the cold air coming in and hot air coming out.
Okay, so what are you looking for? Because you're worried about what? You're up in this range. And what are you worried about on the fire growth curve getting you?
The flashover.
Good. Okay, so what things are you looking for when you're cracking that door and looking?
Looking for off gassing.
Good. And what are you listening for?
The warm weather, growth stage or decay.
Good. And then you're sticking your hand in, what are you feeling for?
400. Is that
All right. At mid-door, right? You can be doing that, right? This is a truck door operation. When we work truck, right, since we don't have a hose line, we use the doors as membrane protection, and we'll check mid-wall like this. Where are we in the fire development? Can I hold my hand in here? Right? If I can't, next room. And you did coming. Unit 201. Pass. Something like that. Right? That work for you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right. So remember, the answer to the question lives to what you agree you're seeing. Because we can't decide anything until we know what we're looking at. Your depth perception in low light environments works like this. You could be looking at something, and until your brain recognizes what it is. So let's say you're doing a engine door operation, you're laying down and you're looking across the floor, right? And you see this object kind of sitting over there along the wall, right? And until you recognize that that's a shoe, or until you recognize that's the trim on the floor going along the wall, right? You won't see depth. Your brain won't pick up depth. The way your brain sees depth is it recognizes what it's looking at. It sees, oh, that's a cup. Now I can see how far away that is. That's why they use these things, all the time, in architectural drawings and things like this. They'd stick a guy in there. This is how big it really is. Well, right? Because there's a body there. Our brain needs that.
Is that why when we do a search or something and it's no visibility, you can come out of a room after you're done doing a search and just be like, that is not at all what I thought it looked like.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think so anyway. I think you're right. I mean, I know for me it is anyway. The room never, to this day, I don't think I've ever imagined the room looking exactly like it did after the lights went on. Anybody, any of you guys? You do a search and you're drilling around, you're doing your thing, and then you go turn the lights like, fuck, it doesn't look like that, in my mind. Right? I So, I mean, your brain needs vision, it needs light, it needs to be able to recognize what it's looking at. I give you another example. We had a guy come off Highway 2 here. We get a lot of motorcycles go flying off the curve coming in right there at night. They'll kind of fall asleep and they'll ride right up along the curve and they'll launch off. And the motorcycle will be sitting there running still. And so we're on this one call out there on the ladder, and we're all looking, God, where's the guy? Did he just walk away? Whatever. And this young WSP guy's out there with us, and he's got his flashlight, and he's looking, and we're looking down this thicker bushes, and it's a good, what do you think that's 40 feet off that thing? 40, 50 feet off that drop, you know? And he's kind of looking, we're all looking over the edge, and he goes, shit. He looks at, he goes, hey, what's that? And he's looking at it, and he goes, and then he says, I think that's a foot. And the minute he said that, my brain went, fuck, that's a foot. I mean, but I was looking at it a long time before I could recognize it was what it was. And then all of a sudden, you could see exactly what was going on. Now, how far away it was, what we were going to have to do. But until then, the foot was sticking out the whole time. We were looking at it, but we didn't know it was a foot. Right? And the guy actually lived. Right? But he got him out of the That's kind of interesting, right? So it makes me more of a believer of this. Okay. So this controversial stuff, right? Remember, it's more than just this. Heat reading is more than this. Heat reading is where's the stage of the fire? What's happening at the ceiling? What's happening at the floor? Right? How much temperature is in the box? Right? And if you're the kind of person who burns himself in the shower, you don't get to be a fireman. So if there's a question on your test that says, do you burn yourself in the shower? Don't read it like, could you burn yourself in the shower? Right? You want to say, no, I don't burn myself in the shower. I'm a fireman. And listen, kids, right? Why do we set a hot water heaters at 120 in our house? Why is that? What do you think? It's a safety issue. Just guess. Come on, guys, just guess. So you don't burn yourself, right? You can actually stick your hand in that water in full blast hot and pull it out without getting burned. And that's wet, conductive energy that's coming. That's why they choose 120. Right? Well, the same thing's happening here when we're reading heat. Right? You're not like going, fuck, I don't know, open the door and you jump in like you're parachuting in and then you're starting to read. That's not what we do. We're in a safe environment working towards our hostile environment that we're going to control. Right? It's not jump off the fire engine, throw the hose, jump on, whoo, charge the line, ride it in, yeehaw! And you go in there, right? And no, it's reading the environment and controlling it on your way and getting the truck to support you. Give me some space. I need some lift. Give me some space. It's not, fuck, we gotta hurry up. The BC's out there going, what the hell are we taking so long for? Screw him. He's at the command post. He's moving. The reason we do command systems and Velcro is to keep them out of our hair so we can get our job done. We give them enough stuff to do out there, they're like, oh, fuck, what's going on? Blue card, red card, whatever it is, but at least they're over there focusing on that, or we're fighting the fire, right? We're getting it done. No, it's not that bad, but it could be. All right.
So I got a question for
Yeah.
you guys. So when you guys were at the academy, what was the status of checking heat during, weeks, 5 through the end? When you were doing lots of burning, you were going in on a regular basis in your labs, were you reading heat? Or at that time, were they saying, no, you can't? Or was it just sort of?
We were never allowed to take our glove off, pull back our glove,
At all?
at all.
We did it
We-
once.
We were allowed one day, but then we got.
That first day when I was up there with you
Why is that? Was there different instructors and then?
Liability.
Or what?
Yeah, it was a
We
liability
were trying to
policy.
do it, and then we found out that he wasn't supposed to allow us to do it.
So since then, Chad Cross, their safety guy up there, I don't know if you had a chance to meet him. He made what do they call it, the AHJ decision, authority having jurisdiction decision, and it's now, this is a meeting last week that I went to, it's now policy that you can read heat. So, sorry guys,
How'd that happen?
we had a
How'd
lot
they change their
of
minds? Chief?
conversations, I don't know,
With who?
well, a bunch of guys.
Well,
Just-
Mr. Humber Pie over here.
It'd be interesting, because from when you guys, they stopped that, right? And then how you guys were instructed to read heat, and then compare that to what Captain Tanaka is telling you now, and how you see the difference in the two.
How did they instruct you to read heat?
We just went through the motions of
We were,
raising
we
walls.
were mimicking it for muscle memory and told when you get out in companies, you're gonna be doing this, but you can't do it.
So you guys were cracking the doors to the warehouse, right? You were reading the lift in the building and then checking for heat just by mimicking by raising your hand.
Pretend.
Yeah, pretend.
Or
Train like a
if you
fight,
could do
fight
a
like a
visual,
train.
right, to see what the smoke was doing. And then when you got in, you're making another determination by the heat that you might have felt through your bunks or through your head, your hood, and your cover, and then you would continue in. I'm guessing, I'm throwing that out there, yeah, I tell you, okay.
Alright, awesome. Because that's the question, right, at the end of the day. If you don't do this, and the way that I do it, I don't have my gauntlet on. Now don't go cut it off. I had a class 1 year up there. You don't need your gauntlet, right? And then I got a phone call from my guy cut off his gauntlet. He said, your gauntlet on your thumb goes through and your bumper here. He says, you told him. I go, Jesus Christ, that's not what I said. I said, I don't wear mine because when I stretch out my arm, I can expose my wrist.
And our current bunks don't have it,
Yeah.
so.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
So when we feed you guys, some of you guys are probably uncles, maybe some of you guys are fathers, but when you check the temperature of the baby's bottle, where do you check it? On your wrist. Why? Why not on your forehead or on the back?
It's more sensitive.
It's more sensitive, right? So you can expose your wrist to the heat. What do you think you're gonna get here? A good read. Right? In the old days, and this is, we got hoods in 1990 here. We weren't wearing bunker gear pants into fires in 1988 during the day, only at night.
Some weren't even doing that.
That's where
Fires are hotter at night. It's a well-known fact.
I slept in this room right here. With our bunks next to our bed. We had a big pole hole right here, and this was the war station here. There was an engine, a ladder, and a medic unit, and a battalion chief in here.
Wool pants, right?
Pants, yep.
Wool pants.
No, just
sometimes
like
it
this.
is, sometimes-
No SCBA. Well, you had to go to SCBA's for everything all the time. In '87 when they killed Gary Parks. Right? But right before then, it was knock it down, and then the guys would come in. What they called them back the breathers. Come back, get your breather on. Come on in. Hold. I mean, it was different. Right? So they didn't wear hoods, and so when they introduced hoods in the '90s, it was a big old deal, because all the officers were pissed because they're like, how am I going to read the changing rate of heat in this environment if I can't feel it? And all the safety Nazis were all over the West Coast, everywhere, going, all these guys who want to make money, saying something new and different that's always been said before, right? It's the same story, you guys. I'm telling you a story that was told to me 30 years ago, right? Well, actually over the 30 years of this journey that I've been on, okay? Right? But, the biggest complaint from them was, and the safety officers were going, well, it's your safety gear, you're gonna get burned, we're finding people burned. Well, they're dead. I mean, yeah, they're gonna be burned by then, right? But the issue is, how do you read the rate of change of heat in the box? How do you know you have space? And the old guys in the old days were doing with their hoods. Now, I'm not saying you gotta do it that way, but you gotta do something. And so what I've always said, and Chief went up to the academy and started this conversation again, I've always said, well, if you're not gonna do that, if you're not gonna expose skin, how are you doing it? And I want to do your way. Because if I don't have to expose skin, I don't want to. Is there a way to do it without exposing skin? The reason I bring this up to you right now, because you guys are Everett firemen, right? We're not teaching the whole state, right? You guys are Everett guys. You should always be looking for the rest of your career a better way to do what you're doing. So your mind is open to new ideas all the time. This reading heat with your wrist should be an old idea, like the hood. Not wearing a hood is an old idea for me. By the time you end your career, okay? We got to find another way to keep better and better ways to read the changing environment in the box. And if you go in these boxes in zero visibility, and you can't see, how are you reading it? Are you using thermal imaging? Have you trained to use thermal imaging to read the rate of change of heat in the box? Or are you using it to make sure you don't fall over furniture? Right? What is it you're doing with thermal imaging? What is it you're doing with the technologies of today to help you read the fundamental question for us? How is the heat rate changing in the box? Where am I in the fire growth curve? What is the impact to me and my crew? That's that should be the driving question for you all the time when you're fighting fire. How's the heat changing? Is it coming down? Is the box ready to give it up? I don't mean like give up, it's not gonna burn. I mean like it's done absorbing energy, it's not helping you anymore. It's gonna stop being your friend, and it's gonna start throwing it back at you. It's gonna throw up. Right? It's like giving a patient water when they want water but they're sick, and then the next thing they do, they throw up. I went a whole career not giving anybody water because I believed the doctor, and then one day I broke down and gave this little old man some water. He's really thirsty, so we're waiting to get him loaded up in the rig. The medics were with us. Oh yeah, go ahead and give him some water. So we give him some water, and the guy fucking threw up. Right. Next thing you know, we're tubing. So we give him water. Right. Same thing with the fire guard, right? That's what you're looking for. You're looking for this change, and you got to figure out what it is. So how do we figure it out right now? There may be a new way tomorrow, because if it comes, we're using it. We find a better way tomorrow. We're not going to go, oh God, this is what, our egos aren't going to be attached to, oh God, this is what we got to do. We're going to like, oh shit, great idea, I'm using it.
But our thermals that we have, and you guys will learn to use, is a tool that we can use with this, right? Because it goes to low sensitivity mode over 325 degrees roughly. And so that tip becomes more sensitive. You can use that to read, or the officer will use that to read, along with this tool here that the captain's showing you.
So what do we do if the battery goes out? Some imaging is not working. And if you're my age, I'm 57 club, right? Yeah, 50s club, right? I still got my hair, I haven't had to do anything, didn't get to that. But in the 40s, what happens in your 40s, right, is your eyesight really starts to change. I challenge any of the fire officers that are in their 50s, how well they can read that screen when they're looking at it. I usually go like this. Hey kid, what's that thing saying? What am I looking at? You always know you're really fucked up when the guy's being really quiet. Well, I think it's the wrong building. It's actually right here.
It's kind of the same thing you do, it's a tool. It's kind of like the same thing to use that for searches, right? If you find someone that's stuck to that camera, we're kind of going off tangent here.
No, it's good. No, because we are going to do thermal imaging with this group.
But and it's not taking a view and then throwing it down or putting it down, right? They're put too much emphasis on that camera and not the building that they're going through, and that's how you get hurt, right? Because it is a tool, like the captain was saying. So you can go to shit on you, and then you're screwed. So, yeah.
So you have the non-thermal imaging fire department's way to do it, and you're also going to be able to use thermal imagers and learn how to do this too. We'll teach you that on the last day of truck week. We'll have a whole thermal imaging lab where you'll learn how to read rate of change of heat in the box. All right, so we need to go to break. We've been at this for an hour. All right, so I want someone to show me UAE. You're up. What's UAE?
Demonstrate it,
Yeah.
physically. Stretching, fill the glove back.
What do you hear?
Yeah, roar and fire,
Good.
heavy rock, maybe
Maybe-
maybe Metallica.
Yeah, all right. That's a journey.
Throw it up. Ooh, ah, E.
Okay, all right. So what was the ooh? Ooh, I like that. Ooh, what's the okay, what's the ah?
E.
Good, all right. And what's the e? Okay, good. You can go to break. You're up. You can stand by for more support. You can applaud if it's good enough for your appreciation. Ooh. E. All right. Okay. All right. Next person up. Let's do this. Let's hardwire this. This is RPD training, right?
Academy
Never
Award.
forget.
E.
All right, good. See, I like how you look at the floor for E, because that's where it comes from, right? Cockroaches don't forget. This is your ego getting attached right now. I'm teaching you how to get rid of it, all right? Your ego is not your friend.
Ooh.
E. All right, good. He's kind of big guy, you know. His might have been 375. I'm thinking. We're quite. That's all right. That's all right. Okay, next. Ooh. Ah! E. So his was at what temperature do you think? 6? Give me, show me your 400 read. Ooh. Ah!
What do you guys think?
175.
He's too muscle bound, his arms won't come down that fast.
I don't want you to get hurt.
He's gonna make cookies at that.
400 is an involuntary movement out in the heat. It's involuntary. It's like this. Oh, damn. Yours is 375. 300 maybe. I don't know. Okay. All right, so give me a 400. I want to see a 400 out of you. There we go. That's better. That's better. All right. All right. Next. What's ooh? Ooh. E. Yeah, there we go. All right. All right. I like that. We gotta, that's the one we want to film.
Thanks.
Alright.
Listening.
Ooh. Yeah. Yeah. All right. All right. All right. We're doing it. We're doing it.
Run. Last one better be good.
Do it, Aaron.
Ooh.
All right, instructors, we're doing this together. You ready? Our demo
Hey, real
for
quick,
that.
real quick. Don't train yourself to instantly turn tail and run though with that E part, right? Just know what's happening.
Well, yeah, 'cause
If you guys want, if you want a good drill, or a really good thing to figure out what that feels like, something Chief Sorensen said a few years ago when he did this class is, go home, turn your oven on about 500 degrees, wait till it heats up, put your hand inside there, and you'll feel that heat around 400 degrees when you get close enough.
He told you to put your head in there.
Anyway, you'll understand what that really feels like.
Okay, so the fire's in the scary corner. Thank you for that. The fire's in the scary corner. It's building, right? It's going to build 70% faster because it's getting ready to reflect the feedback from all corners, right? Right? You're coming into the building, instructors. We're coming in, right? And I'm hearing this growth stage chart. Come on, you're doing this with me, okay? Oh yeah, we're doing this. Demo time. It's demo time. It's demo time for the students, right? Right. So here we are. We're here. Like, oh, there it is. That growth stage fire. Better check the heat.
Watch that cord, Randy.
Ah! All right. Is that off gas? Oh, it's off gassing. Okay. All right, you guys. All right, go take a break. See you in 15.
If we're leaving, you should probably come with us.
But if you do those sound effects,